Neil, hello God. Today I would like to talk to you about poverty. There are so many people in the world who are struggling with poverty, and it seems like such a difficult problem to solve. What can we do to help those who are suffering from poverty? God. Hello Neil, I am glad you brought up this important topic. Poverty is indeed a complex issue, but there are ways to address it. First, we need to understand what causes poverty. Often, poverty is the result of systemic issues such as inequality, lack of access to education and healthcare, and economic policies that favor the wealthy. By addressing these root causes, we can begin to reduce poverty. Neil. Yes, that makes sense. But what about those who are currently living in poverty? How can we help them right now? God. There are many ways to help those who are living in poverty. One important step is to provide them with basic needs such as food, shelter, and health care. Organizations and individuals can also donate their time and resources to help those in need. We can also work towards creating opportunities for people to improve their lives through education, job training, and access to capital. Neil, that's great advice. But it seems like there are so many people living in poverty around the world. How can we possibly help everyone who is suffering? God. It's true that poverty is a widespread issue, but every effort to help makes a difference. We can start by helping those in our local communities and then work towards larger-scale solutions. It's important to remember that change happens one step at a time and every little bit counts. Neil, I see your point. But what about people who seem to be stuck in poverty? It can be hard to break out of the cycle of poverty, even with access to education and resources. God. Yes, it can be difficult to break the cycle of poverty. But it's important to remember that poverty is not a personal failure. Many people are born into poverty and face systemic barriers that make it difficult to improve their lives. We need to work towards creating a more equitable society that provides opportunities for all people to thrive. Neil, that's a good point. But what about those who are in poverty due to their own actions or choices? God, it's important to understand that people make mistakes and poor decisions, but that doesn't mean they should be left to suffer in poverty. We need to work towards providing people with the resources and support they need to make positive changes in their lives. Everyone deserves a chance to succeed and to live a life free from poverty. Neil, I couldn't agree more. Poverty is such a complex issue, but it's clear that we need to work together to address it. Thank you for your insights, God. God, you're welcome, Neil. Remember that every little bit counts and that we can make a difference in the lives of those who are suffering from poverty. God, that's an interesting perspective, Neil. But let me ask you this. What if I told you that poverty is not a punishment or a test, but rather an opportunity for growth and learning? Neil's sad face, surprised. What do you mean, God? God. I mean that poverty is often seen as a curse or a sign of failure, but it can also be a catalyst for change and transformation. Think about all the great people in history who came from humble beginnings and used their struggles as a source of inspiration and motivation. Neil. Thoughtful. I see what you mean, but it's still hard to imagine poverty as anything but a burden. God. Of course, poverty is not easy, and it can bring many challenges and hardships. But it can also be a teacher, showing us what is truly important in life and giving us the opportunity to develop qualities such as compassion, resilience, and resourcefulness. Neil's sad face, nodding. I understand. But what about those who are born into poverty and never have the chance to escape it? How can poverty be an opportunity for them? God. That's a difficult question, Neil, and one that does not have an easy answer. But I believe that even in the most difficult circumstances, there is always a seed of hope, a glimmer of light that can guide us forward. It may take time, effort, and support from others, but it is possible to overcome even the greatest obstacles. Neil's sad face, contemplative. I see what you mean, God. Poverty is not just a condition, but a mindset, a way of looking at the world. God. Yes, Neil, that is exactly it. Poverty is not just about money or material possessions, but about our relationship with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. And it is in this relationship that we can find the greatest treasures and the deepest meaning in life. Neil. Smiling. Thank you, God, for showing me a new perspective on poverty. I will try to remember that even in the darkest times, there is always a light to guide us forward. God, smiling back. You are welcome, Neil. Remember that I am always with you, and that together we can face any challenge and overcome any obstacle. The conversation between Neil and God about poverty continued for a while longer, as they explored different aspects of this complex and often misunderstood topic. They talked about the role of society and politics in addressing poverty, the importance of education and opportunity, and the power of community and solidarity. As the sun began to set over the horizon, Neil and God felt a sense of peace and clarity that they had not felt before. They knew that the journey ahead would not be easy, but they also knew that they had each other, and that with faith and perseverance, they could make a difference in the world. Together, they looked up at the sky and whispered a silent prayer of gratitude and hope, knowing that whatever the future held, they would face it together, as friends and partners in a journey of love and discovery. God. Yes, it is. But you must understand that there are many ways to address poverty. Some people choose to give money or food directly to those in need, while others work to create sustainable solutions that address the root causes of poverty. Neil. I see. But what can I do as an individual to help? God. There are many things you can do. You can donate to organizations that work to alleviate poverty. You can volunteer your time and skills to help those in need. And you can use your voice to advocate for policies and changes that can help address poverty on a larger scale. Neil. That's helpful. But how can we ensure that our efforts actually make a difference? God. The key is to focus on sustainable solutions. Rather than just giving money or food, look for ways to empower people to lift themselves out of poverty. This could mean supporting education and job training programs, promoting economic development, and advocating for policies that provide a safety net for those in need. Neil. That makes sense. But what about systemic issues like inequality and discrimination? God. Those are important issues that cannot be ignored. Addressing poverty requires a comprehensive approach that addresses both the root causes and the symptoms of poverty. This means advocating for policies that promote equality and justice, and working to dismantle systems that perpetuate poverty and inequality. Neil. I understand. It seems like a daunting task, but I know that we can make a difference if we work together. God. That's right. It's important to remember that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable world. And by working together, we can create a brighter future for all.